Hello everybody, DarkPhoenix Ninja 92 here, and welcome back to Let's Play Tyranny with Tiberius and our little intrepid band of evil and not-so-evil people. Because, lest you forget, in Tyranny, we are kind of the bad guys. And last time we left off, we had just made our way to this particular area, and we're trying to help Graven Ash pacify the Tears because the Unbroken, basically, they're the local version of the Vendrian Guard, and they're still resisting, but unfortunately, there's an Edict of Kairos that's currently in effect. And one of the effects of that edict is there's a massive freaking storm in the whole area that makes a lot of it impassable, so our current objective is to sneak into this fort called Duskwatch and free a disfavored soldier called Callias. Callias has some information we're looking for, and we need to get him out. Nothing really worth it in any other part of these menus. But before we dive right into things, there's one thing I want to make you all aware of. You see, this is my second time attempting to record this, because the first time around, I had the little issue that during my recording, I had a brief power outage at my house, and therefore, since I record in MP4 format, because I kind of have to due to the way I set up my audio, because of that, the entire recording became corrupted and unusable, so I have to re-record it all over again. Which also means I have a few conversations I need to have again. Was there one with Lantry? I don't remember.
Of course. How can I help?
Alright.
Semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss?
Our allies and enemies, I have questions about them.
You might want to ask a more soldierly type about the armies, but do you want to talk about the Archons or other mages?
I wanted to ask you about the Archons, actually. I know much of such luminaries, so I am careful with my words, but ask if you must. And tell me about the Voices of Nerat, Archon of Secrets, because aside from the fact that he's kind of an asshole, and seems to enjoy fucking with everyone's heads, we know precisely jack shit about the Voices of Nerat. The Voices of Nerat is one of Kairos' most dangerous and unpredictable servants. He can pull memories, whole personalities, if you believe some reports, from his victims, and over time this has created a single Archon with the knowledge of countless lifetimes. Beyond that, I know he served Kairos for close to 200 years. He was one of the generals of the War of Northern Unification, and small world, Graven Ash was his enemy at the time. War of Northern Unification, you say? Lore. What is now known as the Northern Empire was, a bit more than a century ago, known as the Northern Kingdom, until it fell to Kairos in the penultimate conquest. During its time, to those on the receiving end of it, it was known as the Great Northern War of the Overlord. But Tunon wrote a law that outlawed the use of the name, on pain of clipped tongue and mangled hands if literate, and that name has since been forgotten. To those not trained in the Vellum Citadel or by Fatebinders who are quite jaded when far from Tunon, it is known more simply as the Northern Conquest. Interesting. Very interesting. But what can you tell me about Bladen Mark? I mean, we know he exists, and we've spoken to him once or twice, but he's not exactly the most forthcoming of people. What can you tell me? Very little. His name is not printed in many texts. I know that he is sworn to Tunon and acts as his assassin. I know he goes back a long ways, though. I've long assumed he served Kairos about as long as Tunon, give or take. Well, we're not going to get much else useful out of him on the Archons, so we'll leave it at that. Now, Barrick, what do you have to say?
And so civil war divides the armies of mighty Kairos. The reckoning that comes of this failure will be great indeed. We find ourselves in the darkest times. Brothers and sisters who fought for a similar cause now skewer each other over blighted lands in the favor of distant powers.
Well then, Barrick, I trust you're not criticizing this, because I imagine, seeing as you are with the disfavored, and obviously a staunch supporter of Graven Ash, you would have acted as I did at Vendrian's Well, would you not?
Backing the disfavored was the only logical choice. Graven Ash is the only Archon worthy of your confidence, and you were wise to recognize as much. Naturally, I would have done the same.
Glad to see that I am indeed capable of reading you from time to time, Barrick. Glad to see it.
Whatever others might say about what happened in Vendrian's Well, you acted from instinct. I can't help but respect that. What can I do for you?
And we're not going to discuss removing his armor, because as far as Tiberius is concerned, that's just straight up impossible. We won't even bother to bring it up. Waste of damn time as far as we're concerned. But I think we need to talk with Ebb a little bit, because we've not really chatted with her very much. Or at all, for that matter. She nods at our approach and offers a curt bow.
What is it you need?
I have some questions for you.
Ask away.
Tell me about yourself. I mean, I don't really know much about you, and we are traveling together, so I'd like to know some more about you, if you don't mind. Tell me about your name. Ebb is a very interesting name to have, and I've not heard its like before. Not even amongst the inhabitants of the Tiers. Where did you get that? Well, I was born Hazen Lavenja for most of my life, and I suppose for all the days after, I'm known and will be known as Ebb. Tidecaster Ebb for those trying to be obsequious, and I have no idea what the bloody hell that means, by the way. I've also probably used a bunch of aliases that are going to haunt me at some point. Hazen, eh? I didn't realize you were nobility. I know, I dressed myself and cooked my own food. So misleading. Mother was a magistrate of Ardent, father was Admiralty. Which mostly meaningless, though. Our lands are now the overlords. Well, so Ebb used to be a noble of the Tiers. That's very interesting. But Ebb is a very intriguing nickname to have. How'd you get it? It's one of those not especially funny jokes that stuck long past its season. I wrote the word Ebb incorrectly on a written examination. Master Fulvax started calling me Ebb from then on. He claimed it fit me, said I was a cynical little shit that always sees the ebb, never the flow. You had some very charming teachers, I see. Did you always want to be a tidecaster? Oh, when I was a little girl, what I really wanted to be was a marine. The burly bitch at the prow of a trireme, first to crack some skulls when the ships rammed. You know, an honest living. Fortunately, the school sought me out before I got myself killed at sea. School of Tides was looking for new blood, and my father was an admiral of Haven, so the school wanted me for the political connections. I got to spend my first couple years proving I actually belonged with the Tidecasters. that was fun. Yes, obviously Ebb is quite the master of sarcasm. But yeah, probably a good thing she ended up as a tidecaster rather than a marine. Doesn't seem like she would fit the molds of a marine in the way they're describing it here. So yeah, I think you did pretty well for that. How'd you fall in with the Vendrian Guard? I seem to remember her mentioning in passing something about how they would have been hunting her for being a mage or something to that effect a few years prior. Doesn't seem like the kind of situation that would lead to you working with someone now, does it? What does it matter now that they're gone? They seem the last hope for the Tears, and a ninny shitting fuck of a chance is still more than no chance at all. Well, okay, you don't want to share, I get it. What did you do in the years before the war, though? Provided this isn't too personal, of course. My husband was born in Apex, and he left his prosperous lands to be with me. So when the nest was empty, it seemed right we leave my homeland and see his side of the Tears. We had a year and a bit to ourselves before the war upturned things. We saw all of Apex. I took him along all my old sailing routes around Five Wives and Sunder. Those were good times. Then came the war, and I learned I would be one of the last Tearsmen to live free of Kairos. Ever since then, I think Oathbreaker has technically been my chosen profession. True enough, that. True enough. Tell me about your family. I'm somewhat curious about the subject, I have to admit. Trying to salt old wounds? They're all gone, but if you really care to know, I had a husband, 3 kids, siblings I didn't hate. Every family has its troubles. I was lucky that awkward and stilted dinner banter was the worst of it. Tell me about your husband. Pelox, Aldenos, and I were married in 410. Aldenos was a foxman of the Vendrian Guard back before they were starving partisans. When I saw him more as a carpenter, woodworking was just a hobby of his. My fondest memories are of him trying to shape something, and me making stupid jokes about the firmness of his material. Wow, Ebb has a little bit of a dirty mind in there, doesn't she? We're not going to bring that up, because that would definitely be rubbing salt in the wound. And just saying, I assume he's related to this dead guy that we probably almost certainly killed when we were crushing that rebellion you used to be a part of. No, not gonna bring that up. What did you like about him? He fit my aunt's advice. If he makes you walk funny, he's a keeper. Oh, wow. Your family is just hilarious, Ebb. They really are. Despite, or maybe because he was a warrior by trade, Aldenos got his anger out in practice and in war. He was peaceful as a frozen lake when we were together, and that fucker could cook. He'd whet all my appetites. Wow. What are the rest of your family? You mentioned siblings, I think? My family's Haven folk, through and through. My mother prided herself on being descended from Hazen Rabban, one of the founding magistrates of the city of Ardent. She looks to the side, mouth twisting in thought. Sad thing is, they died during the conquest, but that's not how I lost contact. I lost contact because magic and travel became my life. Had plenty of time to get to know them as an adult, but I simply missed it. Oh, that's kind of sad. But that one's my fault. I can't rightly blame Kairos for everything. But tell me about your children. And please, provided I'm not getting too personal here, obviously. How were the twins? Drevenor and Lorma, then my youngest son Akamus. Aldenos wanted more, but I was nearing the end of my trials at the school of tides, and dueling with lethal magics is a terrible idea when with child. That is true. I imagine, and even someone who doesn't know a damn thing about kids or magic could probably work that out. Not exactly a hard thing to determine, after all. Drevenor and Lorma followed my husband's trade and took to the folks. Akamas liked the harp more than people. Can't blame him one bit. I made sure my children could read, and I'm damn proud of that fact. Probably the only thing I did right. What of the twins? What happened to them? I imagine the fact that they weren't there when Ebb was with the Vendrian Guard means that they're probably dead by now. They died at the gates of judgment, or at least Drevenor died, run through by a disfavored spear. Oh, that's going to make things awkward, what with the fact that we are helping the disfavored, and the fact that Barrack is around all the damn time. That's going to make things a little bit awkward, I imagine. Lorma was at the battle, but I don't know what became of her. My fear has been she was recruited by the Scarlet Chorus. Perhaps she has a new name, if she's still alive. Yeah, I'm really hoping that's not the case, because I hate to break it to you, but if your kid is with the Scarlet Chorus, then I'm afraid she's probably going to end up dead at some point, just because of their annoying habit of throwing conscripts at problems to solve them. But who knows? If they did recruit her, maybe she ran away and is still alive. Then again, this is Tyranny, and no one has a fucking happy ending in this game, so don't expect anything good. But what became of your youngest? You haven't mentioned that. Without Drevenor and Lorma, Akamas, well, he took his own life in 430. Ebb shrugs, her eyes glancing far away. I should have put him on a trireme and shoved him out onto the high seas. He did not ask for birth, nor did I prepare him for the bitterness that life would offer. Oh, I'm very sorry about your loss, Ebb, because Tiberius is a lot of things, but an asshole with no sympathy for other people's pain is not one of the things he is. Not to mention, we rather like Ebb, and Tiberius is really starting to get along with her and relate to her, and this story that we've just been hearing is kind of causing him to second guess his previously blind loyalty to the Overlord, because before he was just blindly loyal to Kairos, just Kairos is always right, end of discussion. But now we're kind of getting a new perspective on the way that the conquest and just Kairos' rule in general is affecting the lives of average people, which we're not about to go and contemplate betraying the Overlord or declaring independence or anything and trying to build our own empire just because of this story from Ebb, but it's definitely making him have second thoughts about being blindly loyal to Kairos and always doing what he's told. So, just something to think about there. Spare me the sorrow. We've all lost family to Kairos. I just lost 2 in one battle. Even then, I'm hardly unique. Okay.
Ask away.
Well, I think that's enough conversation for now. The rest of these will still be there when we have another opening to chit-chat with people. So for now, we're going to leave it. And I'm going to save the game real quick. we'll also be moving around to this way. And I'm going to climb through this hole in the fence to get our guys into the fort.
It's a battle.
I am slightly cheating it and gaming the system a little because the bit up there we had something happen. Titans touch, slam their ass into the ground, and a flurry of blows. Now, Barrack striking iron. But yeah, what we had happen when I tried to use that thing up there is there were about 4 or 5 enemies that all rushed us, and I got party wiped. So, this is the entrance that's most likely to turn out in my favor. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Alright, Eb.
Want some of this?
Tiberius, would you care to slice?
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Now, Tiberius can thrust against him. Lantry can do a quill strike. And Eb, I'm going to have you put a bowl of water around his head and start drowning his ass.
That's how it's done.
Or did that not work out? Apparently it didn't work out. Phantom Bolt. Hurt him a little.
This is useless. I should try something else.
Tiberius, I'm thinking slice. Barracks, not going anywhere on that. Now, Taratus' call. Slam his ass into the ground again. Flurry of blows, Tiberius. Let's knock this guy to death.
That from the record.
I'm feeling so great.
Okay, Tiberius, finish his ass off. Now, you can do our long-range lightning attack right there. Barrack, striking iron. Lantry, Titan's touch. Tiberius, I think you need to down a potion. And thrust attack against him. Arcane missile. Tiberius, slice. Slice his ass. Taratus' call. We need to have at least one of these guys out soon. Tiberius, flurry of blows. Now, Light of the Grave. Let's transfer some health. Tiberius, slice. Now, this incompetent buffoon is still trying to go at us. But oh well. Mother's embrace. little water around the head would prove to be more than a little helpful. Now, hit his ass with an arcane missile. Lantry, heal Tiberius. You suck. Now Tiberius is down. Taratus' call. No. Barrack, down his ass. Or Barrack down. Down this imbecile. And you, I think, can Phantom Bolt him. Lantry, drink a potion. And attack. Mother's Embrace, a little water around his head will make life that much easier. Now Lantry, Quill Flurry. There we go. Tiberius is going to have probably a little wound. Oh, I didn't notice this. The Edict of Storms has put a minus on our accuracy, so we're less likely to actually hit what we're aiming for. That's unfortunate.
Another battle.
Tiberius is wounded though, but it's against one guy. Flurry attack. Striking Iron. Taratus' call. Now Quill Flurry Lantry. And Mother's Embrace. The Mother's Embrace, of course, being when we put a ball of water around his head and drown his ass. Tiberius, do a thrust. And please stop knocking my mage down. That's really annoying. Oh, you didn't knock my mage down. You knocked Lantry down. Never mind then. Feel free to knock Lantry down in the future. Speaking of Lantry, he can level up. Let's see. Talent points. I think we have 1 point. I'm going for Greater Renewal. Lets us grant an even greater increase to weapon damage and armor with Lantry. Provided I actually remember to use that ability, of course, because I have a tendency to forget that it exists. We have 1 attribute point. I'm going to put it into this to increase his health a little bit, just so Lantry manages that ever so elusive task of staying alive, as opposed to dropping dead because some random buffoon decided to kill him. Fish and cheese, I'll take that. That's 3 enemies over there. I could go after them.